Guys, welcome back to this episode. It will help you to not to be scared in surfing anymore, because I show you actively what you can do about those different fears. Hit the intro. I guess I'm right if I tell you, yes, we have all different experiences with fear or getting smashed by waves, other people, maybe you're on board. And yes, the waves and the power of the waves can be really scary. And yes, I had to deal with fear as well in my surfing career, because I can tell you firsthand, on my first day of trying to surf, I almost died. I had a near-death experience. I'm not laughing about it. It's serious, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about a head protection, about where to paddle out, what to do there, and it was really big. It was way too big. But I never had the experience of feeling this kind of power, so I did some mistakes, but maybe another video. Because this video, I'm explaining you what are the fears are, the three biggest fears, and what we actively can do about it. So let's jump right into it. If you are new to the channel, I'm Daniel, Ice A2 Surf Coach. I'm coaching over 10 years and I'm the co-founder of Surf Companions. We provide you with surf knowledge. So the three biggest fears what we have to deal as surfer with is, the first one is fear of failure. So what other people think about us in the lineup. The second one is like the fear of the power of the wave at the ocean, like the nature, the raw nature. The fear number 3 is like life-threatening fear, usually with panicking. Let me explain you quick like the 3 different fears before we go into the solutions. Fear of failure is usually the feeling out in the lineup of the people, oh, what they're thinking about me. Even I have the feeling still when I paddle out into the lineup and there are people like really good surfers around me and I'm like, oh, I'm not as good as them, but you know, it's like, and suddenly your takeoff not working right and you get nervous and then you get into this failure, that spiral of failure. So yeah, this is still existing, but I show you in the next few minutes what we can do about it. The second biggest fear about the waves and the nature is of course there, because if you don't know anything about the channels, like the rip currents, like the size of the waves, how to read the waves, it can be really scary. This is the second biggest fear, and the third one is the most critical. And for example, the life-threatening fear is usually when something occurs which you're not prepared for in the situation. For example, you know how to take off, you know how to paddle, you know how to use the current, but suddenly you're out there and a surfer surfs directly into you, like, and you get kind of in this panic mode. Or for example, a really big set of waves comes and you get halted down longer than usual, like what to do, and then you start to get into this survival mode, in this panic mode. So I show you now what we can do about the 3 big fears actively and what we can train and prepare for them. A small example, if you paddle out into a lineup, yes, there are a lot of people who are better than you, whatever, but you have to talk positively in your head, and actively you can tell your head the following: they all started, where are you right now? So it doesn't matter if they're really ripping and really good in surfing, you have to tell in your head, but wait a second, they also started where I am right now. So if your level is a little bit below, don't worry, they also surfed like you maybe a few years ago. So I never experienced someone who was really angry at someone, unless you do mistakes or you really come into the way of a surfer if you don't follow the surf etiquette. So the first active thing you can do is tell yourself they also started where you started. So don't worry about the level. The second tip I give you actively, which helps me a lot in the lineup, they are also really busy with their own surfing. Surfing is I call it an individual sport. It's not a team sport. So it's not like, oh, your friend has to catch a wave and then you catch a wave and then together you get 2 points against those other 2 in the water. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's an individual sport. It means they are also busy in their own head to catch waves, to be in good position. They struggle with the same stuff you struggle in the water. So the second active thing you can do, tell yourself in your head, wait, they don't have time to be as busy with you imagine they are. Like, oh, they saw my last takeoff, it was not that nice. They don't have time for that because they are busy as well. So the second actively thing you should tell in your head is they're active. So don't worry about them. They will not worry about you. Second fear is a bit more serious. It's the fear of waves, power, and the ocean. Yes, it can be scary, and I think you have some experience in the ocean already. What can be scary is obviously getting smashed off that wave, that energy holding you down, or suddenly you're in a rip current and you totally disappear like hundreds of meters away from the beach where you don't want to end up. So the solution, the first one is, if you're starting surfing or you had a bad experience with the power of the waves, start easy with some body surfing. Without the board, go into the shore in front over the sandbank and then go a little bit body surfing. But have in mind, only if you still can stand. Don't swim out into the lineup and then, oh yeah, the YouTube channel told me to body surf. No. Stay in the front where you kind of feel that small smash of that smaller waves in front, because you don't have to handle your board and you get the feeling of that power again, which is important. As a really wise man once said, if you want to overcome fear, you have to go through fear. It's a bit radical, but it's super simple. If you have stage fright, you have to present in front of people to really lower that fear, to have stage fright. The same in surfing. If you're really scared of this power of, whoa, getting washed in a wave, you have to go in there, but in a smaller size, in a smaller doses. And once you have that kind of feeling, you're like, you're getting more comfortable and your fear is going less and less. I don't say like it will be disappear in 1 second, no, but you have control over that fear. The second active tip, surf the size of the waves where you're comfortable with. So go to your limit line and say, for example, shoulder to head height. That was my limit of surfing, and go in your comfort zone, which is a little bit below that. If you do a spot check, you should always do a spot check before surfing, and it's around chest high, belly to chest, you know already, I'm in my comfort zone. I don't have fear anymore because this is my comfort zone. My third tip is actively, if you want to push that feeling of, yes, I want to overcome more this like smashing and I'm more comfortable in bigger ways, then you should never really go high over your limit line. No, you should stay around your limit line, maybe 1 session or 2 surf sessions. Actively, you do maybe 1 surf session a little bit where your limit is, maybe slightly above, so maybe shoulder head high, slightly over head high, and then you go back into your comfort zone, because your comfort zone will be even more comfort zone-ish. So it will be easier about this feeling of power and wave size. My last tip is one of the important active one is, the more you know, the more can you tell in your head and the more you understand what's happening. So for example, if you're in a surf out there and there's current pulling you out meters away from the beach and you're like, whoa, I'm disappearing. It's important to know where the channels are. And we provide you with the surf knowledge, for example here, about the surf currents, instead of just going clueless into the ocean like, oh, I have a surfboard and I just go in. The more you know, the better and the more controlled you are. So my last active tip is, get some surf knowledge, please. By the way, this is why we developed the whole Surf Companions book. Link is below. Now let's talk about the last biggest fear of your life. Hope no one ever gets into this situation, but it could happen that situations occur which you were not prepared for. But like I said, you don't have controls over the situations, because you can make a list actually what you can control in surfing, what you cannot control. For example, what you can control is your body, your fitness, your equipment, your surf knowledge. What you cannot control is, for example, who's in the lineup, who's surfing weird, how are the waves, how's the wind, like the whole nature section. There's a boat coming, dangerous animals living there. You don't have a control about it, but you can prepare for it. I'll give you an example. I had to rescue a girl. She went out into the current. It was really big surf. She didn't have a surfboard. And I came to her. She was just yelling in panic, like, help, help, I'm gonna die, help. And I went there. The first thing we lifesavers have to ask people, is there someone with you? And don't worry, it's all gonna be fine. We are trained lifesavers. So the first thing I approached her like, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. I'm a lifesaver. What you saw then is, in her head, she was still panicking, but in her head and loud out, she was saying, okay, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. She was still panicking, but she replaced it She put an active thought in, which helped her to stay more calm. And when you stay more calm, you can think more clearly again, and you can think in solutions. So the first thing, if you ever come into the situation like panic, whatever, check, like breathe in, use some words which you can use. I had a situation like this. It was not my first surf, but I was in a really big surf, for example, and suddenly my leash snapped. So I was out there, big set, like double to triple overhead, this is like 3 times me, was smashing onto me, and I told even myself, my body was feeling this kind of like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Whoa, we have to do something. And in my head, I had to tell myself, I'm a trained lifesaver, I trained for this, I can do it. I trained this, I can do this. Because no one could save me. This is really important that you actively in your head. I know it's horrible and it costs some training, but this is the most actively you can do in those moments. What you can do beforehand, let's have a look about those things you can control, is the following. What we control is our body and fitness. If you are scared and you have big fear of drowning, but what you can actively train, really, I did it myself, is holding your breath. Holding your breath training outside of surfing gives you a lot of confidence, and you know in the water, I can easily hold my breath 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. Usually, if you're underwater in the normal surf condition, you're maybe 1 or 2 seconds underwater. It doesn't feel like that, but you are. So the first active one, please, about drowning, if you're feared about drowning, train in a pool, in your bathtub. There are already several apps and YouTube videos about like the training, about holding your breath. So I would highly recommend check them out, and it gives you some confidence. So my foundation was I can hold my breath 1 minute 45 or something like that in active condition. So if you know that from yourself, you feel more comfortable and more confident, and that's really important. Third active tip. Yes, there are humans out there, other surfers, and they cannot maybe control the boards as good as you or me. But suddenly a situation occurs which you didn't plan, and it could be life-threatening because those fins and those boards are really hard. So what you should always do is head protection. That's why we put a whole topic about head protection, how you protect yourself, into the beginner surf companion. Here we go in easy illustrations. Protect your head. I did a whole video about head protection. I put it up here. Go down, protect your head all times, and you will be safe. Protect your head. I know there are several more techniques as a coach, but otherwise the video would be too long. I hope that video helped you about those 3 things and what you can actively do about it. If you want to have more surf knowledge, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. If you want to have certain fears explained or solutions about it, just leave a comment below. I'm interested about your stories and about your fears, and can't wait to see you in the next video. I'm Daniel from Surf Companions.